1 year ago, my husband walked out of our marriage and straight into the arms of my best friend. According to him, I had failed the one test that mattered most. I couldn't give him a child. Within months, they announced a pregnancy, then a baby boy. Everyone treated their relationship like a fairy tale and my heartbreak like an unfortunate footnote. I rebuilt my life in silence. Then, exactly 1 year later, I ran into them at a hospital. My ex looked at me, smirked, and said words he would soon regret. 5 minutes later, everything he believed came crashing down around him. For most of my marriage, I believed love could survive anything. When Ethan and I got married, we were both 28, full of plans and optimism. We talked endlessly about the future. We wanted a cozy house, family vacations, and eventually children running through the halls. Those dreams felt so real that I never imagined they could disappear. The first few years were wonderful. We worked hard, saved money, and built a comfortable life together. Whenever someone asked when we planned to start a family, Ethan would smile and say, "Soon." But soon turned into years. After countless negative pregnancy tests, we finally met with specialists. Appointment after appointment followed. Tests, consultations, waiting rooms. Hope followed by disappointment. The process was exhausting. I tried to stay positive, but every setback felt heavier than the last. Ethan changed too. At first, he attended every appointment and held my hand through every difficult conversation. Then gradually, he stopped asking questions. He stopped offering encouragement. He stopped talking about the future altogether. The distance between us grew so slowly that I barely noticed it at first. Instead of discussing our problems, he buried himself in work. He came home later, spent more time on his phone, became irritated by small things that never used to matter. I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't trying hard enough. Maybe I wasn't being supportive enough. Maybe I was the reason our marriage was falling apart. Looking back now, I know I was carrying guilt that never belonged to me. The first warning sign arrived through someone I trusted completely. My best friend, Rachel. Rachel and I had known each other since college. She had stood beside me on my wedding day. She knew every secret, every fear, every hope I carried. When my marriage became difficult, she was the person I confided in. At least I thought she was. Over time, I noticed Ethan mentioning Rachel more often. At first it seemed harmless. Then it became frequent. They exchanged messages, shared inside jokes, started communicating without including me. Whenever I questioned it, both of them laughed it off. "You're imagining things," Rachel would say. "You're being paranoid," Ethan would add. So I ignored my instincts. Then one evening, everything changed. Ethan came home unusually calm, almost relieved. He sat across from me at the kitchen table and told me he wanted a divorce. Just like that. No counseling. No attempt to fix things. No fight for the marriage we had spent years building. I remember staring at him, convinced I had misunderstood. Then he told me the truth. He had fallen in love with Rachel. The words felt unreal. I looked at the man I had trusted with my entire heart and couldn't recognize him anymore. What hurt even more was what came next. Ethan said he wanted a future that included children. He claimed our marriage had been holding him back. He spoke as though our years together had been nothing more than an obstacle standing between him and the life he deserved. Within weeks, he moved out. Within months, he was openly living with Rachel. The divorce was finalized shortly afterward. Then came the announcements. Photos appeared online showing smiling faces, celebrations, and eventually pregnancy news. Everyone congratulated them. Everyone talked about their exciting future. A few months later, their baby boy arrived. Meanwhile, I quietly rebuilt my life one day at a time. Exactly 1 year after the divorce, I walked into a hospital for an important appointment. I wasn't expecting to see anyone I knew. Then I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Look who it is." I turned around. Ethan was standing there. Rachel stood beside him, holding their baby son. For a moment, none of us spoke. Rachel shifted the baby against her shoulder, while Ethan looked me up and down with a smug expression. The confidence on his face made it clear he believed he had won. "Well, he said, smiling. Looks like everything worked out exactly as it should have. I remained silent. He glanced proudly at the little boy in Rachel's arms. Leaving you was the best decision I ever made, he continued. Now I have the family I always wanted. Rachel lowered her eyes, but she didn't stop him. Ethan wasn't finished. You know, some people just aren't meant to be parents. The words landed exactly as he intended. A year ago, they would have destroyed me. Today, they didn't. I simply looked at him and smiled. Really? I asked calmly. The confidence in his expression grew. Absolutely. Then something unexpected happened. A voice called my name from across the hospital lobby. Dr. Morgan, there you are. All three of us turned. A distinguished man in a dark suit was walking toward us accompanied by two hospital administrators. The moment he reached me, he extended his hand warmly. Congratulations again, he said. The board is thrilled you're joining the Children's Research Center. Ethan blinked. Rachel's eyes widened. The man continued speaking. We've never had someone with your qualifications leading this program. The entire pediatric department is excited. For the first time, Ethan looked confused. Leading what program? He asked. The administrator glanced at him. You don't know? I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. The administrator smiled proudly. Dr. Morgan is one of the country's leading pediatric specialists. She'll be directing our new national research initiative. The color slowly drained from Ethan's face. Years earlier, while he had been growing impatient and resentful, I had buried myself in my work. During the painful months after our divorce, I had focused entirely on my medical career. While they were building their new life, I had been building mine. Research projects, medical publications, leadership opportunities, long nights, longer sacrifices. Now all of it had finally paid off. The administrator excused himself after confirming details for an upcoming meeting. As soon as he walked away, silence returned. A very different silence. Ethan stared at me. You never told me any of that. I laughed softly. You never asked. Rachel adjusted the baby again. She suddenly looked uncomfortable. The smug certainty that had surrounded them moments earlier was disappearing. Then Ethan made a mistake. If you were doing so well, he said defensively, why didn't you tell people? Because I wasn't trying to impress anyone. His jaw tightened. For years, he had assumed my value depended on whether I could give him the future he wanted. Now he was discovering how wrong he had been. The baby suddenly started fussing. Rachel attempted to calm him. As she did, she accidentally dropped the bottle she was holding. It hit the floor with a loud clatter. The sound echoed through the lobby. Nobody moved. Ethan looked exhausted. Not happy. Not victorious. Just tired. For the first time, I noticed the strain around his eyes. The pressure. The regret. The reality that real life rarely resembles the fantasy people imagine. Look, he finally said, maybe things didn't happen perfectly. I smiled. No, they didn't. Another uncomfortable silence followed. Then I checked my watch. I should go. That's it. Ethan asked. I nodded. What else is there to say? Neither of them had an answer. I wished the baby a happy life. Then I turned and walked toward the elevator. As the doors closed behind me, I caught one final glimpse of them standing together in the lobby. A year earlier, losing them had felt like losing everything. Now I understood the truth. I hadn't lost my future. I had found it. And for the first time in a very long time, I walked forward without looking back.